What's going on, everyone? Today, 65% of the S&P 500 closed down in the red today. And boy, do we have some crazy news to cover as Japan's bond market is silently imploding, which, as we know from August of 2024, we all know the last time Japan had some freakout problems, it was not a good sign for US markets, as we can see on the chart right now. On top of that, we also have some pretty interesting news with D-Wave Quantum today as they release their most advanced quantum computer yet, and their stock is making a lot of people a lot of money right now. We even have some news from Elon related to his CEO position and the robo-taxis with Tesla, among a handful of other things. So make sure to stick with us all the way until the end. We have a lot to cover today, and you won't want to miss it.
Yeah, definitely, Mike. And the overall market was pretty wild today. I will say it was a pretty bad move to the downside. The overall market kind of gapped down this morning and never really was able to break above its pre-market high, close to 594 here. So it was a pretty rough day. And then, of course, around the end of the day, we had this pretty big sell-off to around 590 before ultimately recovering back a little bit. And Mike, I think that there's starting to become a little bit of fear creeping back into the markets. You know, we are getting pretty overextended. If we zoom out on the SPY a little bit, we are seeing some overextension in the short term. I know that we had that nice gap up a couple weeks ago, and we've been continuing to have some great movement off of that. But today was pretty shaky, and you know, we did see some I would say safe haven stocks or safe haven assets like gold start to rise up quite a bit, as well as a multitude of other things. And I know that this Japanese situation is starting to take a toll, I think.
Exactly. So when we look at U.S. markets right now, everything is trading like everything is all sunshine and rainbows. We're still super close to all-time highs, and the bulls are still running the show. But it would be stupid not to also look at the risks that are currently existing right now. And the main risk comes down to Japan. Basically, for those of you who don't know, Japan has been known for their safety and low interest rates, and now all of that is starting to silently implode. It's like a giant pressure cooker right now that is on the verge of exploding, where their interest rates are soaring to the highest level that they have ever been at in history. And for those of you who don't trade bonds, when rates are going up, that means people are selling out of them, because that's how just interest rates work. This is especially bad for us because Japan is actually the largest owner of U.S. treasuries. They own $1.1 trillion of them. And where things start to get scary is where their finance minister basically said that selling their U.S. bonds is certainly a card on the table. And if they did that, that would push our rates up and certainly cause a bit of a disaster. As we look at this Japan situation right now, they are not in the best position. They have a 263% debt to GDP ratio, and their GDP actually fell by 0.2% in the first quarter of 2025. And their prime minister even called their situation worse than Greece. So, you know, we'll see what happens here, but this is something that we wanted to bring to everyone's attention because it is a real risk. And just like we saw back in August of 2024, when there was that slightest freak out with the Japan carry trade, the market had one of its quickest drops ever, and the VIX actually had its third largest increase ever. So, you know, even though it's happening in Japan, it also affects us.
It definitely does. You know, going back and zooming in a little bit more in August of 2024 here, we can see that there was that pretty bad gap down coming in there like August 1st, and we did have that bottom there on August 5th. It ultimately ended up being a pretty good dip buying opportunity, if we're being honest here. The market started to recover up off of that dip quite a bit, got back up around 20% to its all-time high recently, but overall, that was a pretty crazy situation. I remember that Japanese carry trade definitely impacted the U.S. markets quite a bit, and one thing that really worries me about this, Mike, is if they do end up having to, let's say, sell out of their U.S. bonds and we start to see U.S. yields start to go up even more from where they are, things will get pretty scary. The U.S. 30Y or the 30-year bond yield ended up hitting 5% this week. That was a pretty big thing to see just yesterday. So if we do continue to see, let's say, pressure and breakouts on the U.S. 30Y, that will put a lot of pressure on the economy. And of course, interest rates like mortgages, car loans, etc., will probably be going up as we see the US 30Y and, of course, the other yields start to pop up as well. So I think that's definitely a big concern that investors have here. And it's coming at a time that's pretty rough. Like, I know Trump was really running on like the premise of getting interest rates lower.
Yeah, so we will see. I don't think this situation is going to, be extremely applicable for tomorrow, but it will certainly be applicable as the weeks and months go on. And it would be a shame if, someone didn't know this information ahead of time. So just be aware of this. And Tom, let's look more at GLD. This is doing very well. For those of you who don't know, GLD follows gold prices. When people are scared and uncertain and they want safety, and certainly a lot of people do right now, a lot of times they go into safe haven assets like gold, silver, Bitcoin, and others. Gold is very close to all-time highs, Tom. What are you seeing on the charts here?
Yeah, it looks great. It's actually been dipping a lot recently, which was awesome. That all-time high recently posted very close up there to around 316 to 317. You can see it kind of double topped up here at the top. Now we're starting to get this very nice recovery coming back in here to the upside. And as GLD does rise, there is some resistance coming up. I see around 306. I also see 310 as a possible resistance. But gold, in my opinion, can be really good for swing trading. Of course, today it was really good intraday. And if we continue to see a lot of fear creep in, we could see some good opportunities here to the upside. And even keep your eyes on gold miners like GDX, a gold mining ETF, was up 3.11% today. NEM, an individual miner, ended up popping up pretty well, also just under 3%.
Awesome. Yeah, those are great moves, especially for one day, especially for companies like these ones. And you could also see that intraday price action was phenomenal. So definitely keep GDX, NEM, GLD, and a handful of other gold-related names close on watch, as there's a good amount of money flowing into them. So very interesting there. But Tom, there was no stock that really led the way today like QBTS. So they had some pretty exciting news with their newest quantum computer. What is going on here?
Yeah, it's awesome price action. Their stock closed up over 25%, which was great. This is a pretty wild stock. We can see using the stocked up algo in the bottom right-hand side of your screen. Over the past year, this stock has had an average percent rise of 8.9%. So to say that it's volatile is almost an understatement. It is extremely volatile here in the short term. But yeah, they released some new quantum computing systems, which was fantastic to hear. They're calling it the Advantage 2. They're saying it's their 6th iteration and most advanced system. So I'm glad to hear that. At the end of the day, I think it's very interesting to see that these quantum stocks are continuing to come out with really good technology and just good announcements at the end of the day. And it's helping to fuel some of these rallies here. QBTS has kind of been down in the dumps for the most part. If we go to the daily chart, they had been actually down quite a bit here right at the beginning of May. I mean, they were trading for $7 a share. Recently, they've popped up 150% over the past couple weeks since the beginning of May. So there's definitely been a lot of buying and a lot of good pressure on this stock to the upside. But overall, whenever a company like that deals with quantum computing announces new technology, it can definitely get the stock moving. So keep it on the radar. And one good thing is that this is actually new all-time highs on this stock as well.
Yeah, that is a beautiful move. And while quantum is realistically some years away, it is nice to see like real developments like this. And it definitely does bring in a lot of optimism. Looking at this stock in the short term, it's up over 25% on the day. In a broader sense, it might be a little bit overextended. What is like the realistic way to play this?
Yeah, looking at it right now, there's actually a couple ways that we can look at this tomorrow. And of course, I really don't like front running things. I'm definitely somebody that likes to see a good move, maybe some confirmation, and then adapt into the overall direction here. There's a pretty clear high of day up around 1750 to 1760. I think best case scenario for QBTS tomorrow, we start to see some really good price action and some great breakouts up above this 1760 range. I do think that if we get a break of 1760, 2060, traders will start to target $20. That will be a huge psychological level, especially since we're at all-time highs and there's not really anything overly established overhead. $20 will probably be in play if we get some action. I do like this area right around 1630 for support. There was like 3 really good touches here and a nice double bottom here today intraday. So if that breaks down, there could even be a downside opportunity trying to play this down to the next support of $15. And that's also a pretty big level coming up. So there's a couple different ways here to look at QBTS for tomorrow. Like I said, though, I definitely do lean towards that upside breakout.
The trend is definitely favoring the bulls, but as you said, it's a crazy volatile stock. And if we look at how it moved in the past, we can see like on a daily chart, when it has had massive moves to the upside, it is somewhat common to see like some like giant red days sprinkled in the mix. And I think that is something that everyone should be aware of, because this is also a potential opportunity. Like, no one knows if this stock is going to rise tomorrow, but we do have a high degree of confidence that it is going to move strongly. So if you approach it in an adaptable way and you're just trying to catch a big move, that is where like most of the opportunity comes into play. So either way, keep it close on watch.
It's extremely volatile, and there was another stock that had a lot of volatility today, and that is Tesla. Tesla's stock was all over the place, Mike. Here, right before the market opened, we saw a huge run to the upside with Tesla that was pretty nice, and then as the market opened and things started to play out a little bit, we saw their stock turn right over. It actually bounced off 342, 343 support, tested the high of day, and then came right back down. This was the definition of a roller coaster today. It only closed up 0.51%, and Elon was actually speaking at an event at a Qatar Economic Forum, so that was pretty big, and he ended up saying that he was committing to Tesla for the next 5 years. I thought that was great to hear. There was a lot of talk about, Tesla in general, and Elon, of course, being the CEO. It's very good to see his commitment here. I know he's been working a lot with Doge and everything like that with Trump ever since Trump had been elected, and it's good to see him kind of coming back here. And he also talked a lot about Tesla turning things around a lot in the short term, which was great, and I thought that was awesome for Tesla's stock. Initially, Tesla had that great rip to the upside, but as we can see, the overall bullishness didn't really materialize as the day went on.
Yeah, and there was also some other interesting news related to the Tesla robotaxi, specifically in Austin, Texas. As a lot of us know, since 2016, Elon has been promising everyone that robotaxis are coming next year, and it seems like they're finally, maybe, hopefully coming in June. He said that they should have around 10 vehicles in action in Austin, at least at the end of June. And some other information that is worth keeping in mind is that he said that it will scale up rapidly, assuming that the tests go well. So we will see what happens there, but this is just something to pay attention to, as investors have been waiting for this to finally happen for many, many years now. And if it goes very well, it could be a great sign for Tesla. But if there are problems, which is certainly possible, it can be really bad as well. So this is something just to be conscious of and pay attention to as these next few weeks happen.
Yeah, and I think that as we start to see Tesla like uptrend here in the short term, I do think that this robo-taxi news and it being successful in Austin will be a big thing for Tesla. Of course, if this ends up being negative, and I could see things getting pretty negative with it. If there's 10 robo-taxis, I don't know. I could even see like protesters trying to mess with the robo-taxis or something. Honestly, I mean, you never know. But either way, I think it will be huge for Tesla stock to finally get this done and for them to get this rolling out. Like you said, it's been a long time. And generally, Tesla takes a long time to finally get things going. Just look at their truck. They promised that by a certain year. It ended up taking multiple years later to...
Elon Musk emphasizes Tesla's future with the Optimus robot and the upcoming robotaxi launch in Austin. Analysts note a renewed focus on long-term goals, contributing to a positive market response with a stock surge of over 3.54%. Nvidia Corporation is navigating mixed market signals as CEO Huang critiques U.S. export controls, while partnerships and analyst ratings remain positive. However, significant share sales raise concerns about competition and margins. Alphabet Inc. stock fell 1.5% after the Google I/O 2025 event, which disappointed investors. However, analyst Brian Pitts maintains a positive outlook, emphasizing Alphabet's strengths and reiterating a buy rating with a $200 price target. A recent survey indicates strong user loyalty to Google search, suggesting concerns over AI competition may be overstated.